Wally begins 1967 with a new radio show on KBMS FM. Wally continues to put on shows at nightclubs. According to the California Marriage Index database at FamilySearch.org, Wally married Susan Rennie in 1967. There are reports of a model named Susan Rennie from Santa Monica in newspapers from the 60s. Susan's age is given as 17 in 1967 in the marriage record, but if this is the same Susan Rennie, she appears to be older than 11 in this photo from 1961. The marriage lasts less than a year, as Wally and Susan divorce in November of 1967. By 1968, Wally has a new radio program that airs Monday through Friday on KTYM. He broadcasts from Marina del Rey at the Marina del Rey Hotel and the Jamaica Bay Inn. He hosts the show with Linda Lowell, who was a child actress. In June of 1968, Wally and Linda put on an event at Trancas Restaurant in Malibu. Also participating in the event is Wally's friend, TV and radio personality Tom Duggan. Duggan is a conservative commentator who is known for being controversial and confrontational. Wally states in his book that Duggan was a big influence on his career. In July, Wally interviews presidential candidate and former Vice President Richard Nixon. He also debuts a new weekly column, Wally's World, in the Evening Vanguard Star News newspaper. While the radio show and column still seem focused on music and entertainment, Wally does insert occasional political and social commentary. In the columns, Wally had high praise for concerts by Tony Bennett and Ray Charles at the Coconut Grove, and a concert by Carmen McRae at the Century Plaza Hotel. Wally endorses Richard Nixon for president and celebrates his victory. Wally plugs a church carnival at St. Augustine's by the Sea Episcopal Church in Santa Monica, with an appearance by Tom Duggan and Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. Wally writes glowingly of the church rector, Father Robert Hoggard, and features Hoggard as a regular on his radio show. Wally even says that he is working on getting Hoggard his own radio show. With the newspaper column and radio show, Wally did regular cross-promotion. He would often interview a guest on his radio show, write about them in his column, and then have them pose for a photo with the newspaper. Wally interviewed TV host Donald O'Connor, actress Jane Powell, Myron Floren of The Lawrence Welk Show, and daughter of then-Governor Ronald Reagan Maureen. In late August 1968, Wally marries Linda at St. Augustine by the Sea with a reception at Trancas. According to FamilySearch.org, Wally and Linda would go on to have a daughter, Kimberly, born in November of 1970. Notice that Wally goes by the name Walter Lloyd George in this write-up. In the E! True Hollywood story, it is said that Wally legally changed his name to Walter Lloyd George in 1952. I have seen him use the name Walter George Perch until about 1967, so I'm guessing that name change happened in 1968. Wally writes that he received congratulations on his wedding from Richard Nixon, L.A. Mayor Sam Yorty, and President Lyndon Johnson. Wally and Linda honeymoon in San Francisco, where they attend several nightclubs and concerts, and Wally visits some of his old childhood haunts. Speaking somewhat humorously, Wally complains about the hippie culture in San Francisco. In November 1968, Wally and Linda received the Marina del Rey Key to the City from the Marina Area Chamber of Commerce. Wally begins 1969 by hosting a series of beauty pageants, including Miss Marina del Rey, Miss Playa del Rey, Miss Mar Vista, and Miss Venice. Wally writes that hosting the event was quite enjoyable, even though they had to move inside due to rain, and Linda kicked him under the table a few times for being too enthusiastic. In February, Wally films the pilot for a late-night variety show, Wally's World. In the pilot, Linda sings Too Long at the Fair, and alto sax player Dick Stable performs By the Time I Get to Phoenix. The pilot includes a segment with Father Hoggard speaking to the audience. The pilot also features an appearance by Mayor Sam Yorty, a song from Hello Dolly by Joanne Castle of the Lawrence Welk Show, poems by Henry Gibson of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, and predictions from psychic Criswell. Wally submits the pilot to agencies in March and hopes for a summer debut. Around that same time, Wally bemoans KTTV moving Tom Duggan and Joe Pyne out of their Saturday night time slots to less desirable Sunday time slots. Joe Pyne was a combative conservative talk show host whose style definitely inspired Hot Seat.
And you prove it. Make your charges. Go ahead.
Go ahead, you prove it.
I want to know from you how the program is rigged. If I'm not mistaken, that ugly kisser of yours sat up here next to me one time, and you advanced your theory that everybody should have their wealth reduced to no more than $1 million. Is that correct?
Exactly, sir.
Did anybody put words in your mouth? Were you rigged in any way?
You couldn't put words in my mouth.
Then you lied, didn't you, when you said this program was rigged?
No, sir, I didn't lie.
When you say that this program is rigged, you lie in your teeth, if they are yours.
You asked me a question. May I answer it?
In April and May, Wally heavily promotes the first annual Marina Fair in Marina del Rey. Linda is photographed riding an elephant to promote the fair. In late May, Tom Duggan is tragically killed in a car accident. Wally attends the funeral and eulogizes his friend. In a separate column from that time, Wally also eulogizes Judy Garland. One reader is moved enough to write the paper to thank Wally for his tributes. In June, Wally celebrates the re-election of LA Mayor Sam Yorty and attends a victory party at the Biltmore Hotel. That summer, Wally and Linda attend a taping of The Steve Allen Show. They interview Steve for Wally's radio show and present him with the Comedy Personality of the Year award. Wally and Linda also attend an appearance by Tiny Tim at a department store to promote Tiny Tim's book. They interview Tiny Tim for Wally's radio show. The Wally's World column appears to have ended sometime around late August 1969. Towards the end of 1969, Wally begins recruiting salespeople for a new entertainment magazine. In 1970, Wally begins broadcasting from an A&W root beer and burger stand in Culver City. Wally would allow patrons of the restaurant to make requests and dedications. Wally was particularly proud of this arrangement, as he mentions it in the E! True Hollywood Story and in his book. In October 1970, the Wally's World pilot, filmed a year and a half earlier, finally airs on Channel 9. By 1971, Linda is out of the picture, and Wally marries Jeannie Parsons. Through 1971 and 1972, Wally continues hosting on KTYM, working out sponsorship deals with Gary's Thrifty Furniture, Halcap Auto Sales, and One Stop Auto Parts. In 1972, Wally also hosts a grape crushing event at a winemaking supply store. He also broadcasts a show from a motorcycle shop. By early 1973, it appears that Wally is no longer working at KTYM. A January promotional ad mentions the station, but later promotions involving Wally do not mention KTYM or any other station. Wally does promotions involving giving away record albums in association with a Japanese restaurant in Torrance, a Datsun dealership in Torrance, and a hairpiece company. The association with the hairpiece company is somewhat humorous, given that Wally would constantly be accused of wearing a wig on Hot Seat and he would constantly deny it.
Why do you wear a stupid wig over your head? Hey, pal, this is my own hair.
During this time, Wally and Jeannie start a tabloid paper called Fun and start an organization to defend Richard Nixon in the wake of the Watergate scandal. They make television appearances with George Putnam in support of the organization. At the end of May 1973, Wally's friend Sam Yorty was defeated by Tom Bradley in the LA mayoral election in a landslide. But Sam Yorty's defeat would create a new career opportunity for Wally. This concludes Part 3. If you have any additional details or corrections, please leave a comment.